Alrighty. Well, hello. We're going to get started. My name is Eli Conlon. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator for the Network for Sustainable Tomorrow. I'm joined today by Adam Flint, our Director of Clean Energy Programs, and Aaron Zipman, one of our Energy Corps interns, as well as some of our contractors and partners. So first things foremost, the Network for Sustainable Tomorrow is a nonprofit community-based network of programs working towards social, environmental, and economic justice and equity in our region. NEST catalyzes and convenes new initiatives and partnerships and does outreach and education to build a stronger and more resilient Southern Tier. We have several different programs, including HeatSmart Southern Tier Solar Works, and we're talking today about HeatSmart Southern Tier. So a little overview of what today's presentation is about. First, we'll get into what is HeatSmart Southern Tier. Next, I'll move on to talk about HeatSmart technology, the weatherization and heat pumps. And then Aaron will come in to talk about incentives and financing for this, and then talk about how to get started with some Q&A at the end. First, what is HeatSmart Southern Tier? HeatSmart Southern Tier is a NYSERDA-funded community outreach program that connects the public to local clean energy experts. NEST works to educate the public about sustainable heating and cooling systems through our workshops, tabling events, and webinars, just like this one here. Yeah. Why HeatSmart Southern Tier? Let's take a look at this diagram here, and we can see that the main source of greenhouse gases in New York State is building emissions, with 32% of our emissions being coming from heating and cooling buildings, which is quite a lot, which is why targeting ways to reduce fossil fuel burning and increase energy efficiency inside the home is essential. That's where HeatSmart comes in. So there are several different benefits for HeatSmart Southern Tier. The first few set of benefits are individual benefits, both reducing energy costs in your home and also increasing home comfort and safety, because you won't be burning any fossil fuel anymore in your house, but now you'll be heating your home with electricity. In addition to this, there's a lot of community benefits. One of those being that reduces overall greenhouse gas emissions from your home. The other is that it creates community awareness for these types of programs and resources. And then also every change and addition that you make to your house can be compiled for grant funding for the community through clean energy communities. So what are clean energy communities? Clean energy communities are another program that's funded by NYSERDA that encourages municipalities to be more sustainable in exchange for awards. Green improvements earn points for the community. These improvements could be improving energy efficiency, installing heat pump technology, or installing solar on your building, and so all these lead to getting community points that lead to further grant funding. So what does HeatSmart Southern Tier cover? The thing that the two programs or the two types of technologies and focuses that HeatSmart Southern Tier covers are weatherization, being both insulation and air sealing, and then heat pumps, being ground source, air source, or water heaters. Today in our call, we actually have a couple installers with us. If they wanted to unmute themselves and say hi, that would be great. But we actually have one of our installers here with us. They are the installation man. Jess is on the call. She'll also be available at the end for a Q&A to kind of talk about any more specific questions that you may have. Yeah. So now I'll move on to talk about the HeatSmart technologies that we have. The first HeatSmart technology to focus on is weatherization. So weatherization is protecting your building's interior from the elements of the outside. In this diagram here, we can see that the blue arrows are the cold air that leaks into the house, and then we see red arrows of the hot air escaping into our attic. And essentially what we really want to avoid is air leaking into the building, air leaking out of the building, since most of what your utility bill is paying to maintain this heat or maintain this cooling system. And so if it's just leaking right out of your building, then you're wasting a lot of money. And so weatherization also reduces the need to use large amounts of energy to heat or cool, because once you get your building to the proper temperature, there's no more need to constantly create hot air because the air isn't going to be escaping through your basement or your walls. So like I was saying, there's a lot of benefits to weatherization, mainly being that it reduces energy consumption costs. It also reduces drafts, improves humidity control, as well as improving indoor air quality. And lastly, it reduces the risk of ice dams from forming. In addition to weatherization, there are several different heat pump technologies that we work with. And so this is a diagram of a heat pump. You may not be familiar with this diagram, but if you have a refrigerator in your home, you already have a heat pump in your house. But essentially what it does is it takes advantage of the heat in the air or the heat in the ground, and it compresses it or condenses it to create hot air or cold air, depending on what the demand is. So there are several different types of heat pumps. There are ground source heat pumps, there are air source heat pumps, and then there are heat pump water heaters. The first that I'll talk about is ground source heat pumps. These are also known as geothermal heat pumps or just geothermal in general. But they're closed loop systems that include horizontal or vertical loops, depending on uh, what size or what works best with your yard. So that's why it's always important to talk with your installer to make sure you get a home energy assessment so that you know what is the best plan for you to meet both your energy demand, your cost ability, as well as your sizing in the outdoors, in your sizing available for you. So ground source heat pump benefits include an efficient way to heat and cool all in one system. They're very long lasting. There's a long lifetime for your ground source heat pumps. This can include they can include heating domestic hot water, and overall ground source heat pumps eliminate the need for fossil fuels for your home. So no more oil or gas deliveries, or no more burning uh, wood burners, reducing all that need for fossil fuel. In addition to ground source, there's also air source heat pumps. Air source heat pumps are typically a lot smaller and offer a more controlled amount of heating or cooling, but they also offer ductless ways to get both heating, cooling into your house for outdoor and indoor units. So there are several benefits for air source heat pumps. The first is that you don't need to replace your whole system at once. If you're looking to maybe do it by piecemeal, which working with your installer is important to talk with them to see if that's the best system for you, but you're able to do it not all at once. And so it's better a little bit for cost effective stuff. There's also zone controlling. You'll have more control over room to room to room of what type of temperature you want. The air conditioning can work without having to put in ductwork, which can be very helpful for mitigating cost. And then lastly, air source heat pumps are very quiet. And so you can have them running and have very minimal noise, not like a large AC unit blowing in your window. So the last technology that I'm going to talk to you guys about is heat pump water heaters. And so this diagram on the right shows that there are different uses for the heat pump in terms of either gaining uh, hot air or getting hot water, but also getting using it as a demand for heating your hot water. Um, Although if you were to use a heat pump water heater, you would need a backup, uh, either air source or ground source system to uh, make sure that when you need high demand, that those demands can be met. But the benefits of this heat pump water heater include it's a natural dehumidifier, as well as it is very great for energy efficiency, and it's a lot or has greater energy efficiency than your typical electric water heaters. Alrighty. Now I'm going to pass it off to Aaron to let you all know about how to finance these technologies.
Okay, so yeah, that's the question of the hour. We see all these cool technologies and like everyone wants efficiency and lower heating and cooling bills. But of course, the big question is how do you pay for it? So the first thing we need to consider is a lot of these programs are based on income. So first off, we wanted to show you the different income brackets that are used to determine which types of rebates and credits you might be eligible for. So on the left, we have monthly income brackets, and on the right, different annual income brackets. And that'll make a little more sense when we go to look at the rebates and stuff. So there are different rebates that you can put towards these improvement projects. The rebates from NYSEG and the federal rebates can both reduce the upfront cost of your project as long as the improvement qualifies with the criteria. But all of Nest's competitively selected partners are already correct. They have the correct certifications to make sure that your project has the right heating capacity, so you don't have to worry about whether or not you might be eligible. You will be eligible. To qualify for New York State low-income rebates, your household income must be under 80% of the area median income in your county. But if you're over 80%, you may still qualify for some other rebates. And I'll also mention that the NYSEG rebates and the federal rebates can be combined. They should be available the second part of this year, 2024.
Actually, I think they're now what we heard just a minute ago.
Okay, cool. So okay, the next part that we would want to look at is the tax credits that you would get after making these improvements. These are available now as well. The Inflation Reduction Act, or IRA, offers a 30% tax credit for each project. That means 30% of the project cost for installation of insulation, an air source heat pump, a ground source heat pump, or a heat pump water heater can be reimbursed to you as a tax credit. So these will count towards your federal taxes. And like the rebates, you can get state tax credits on top of federal tax credits. And New York State currently offers a 25% tax credit for ground source heat pumps. There are also other financing options that you can also use to bring down the upfront cost of these projects. So NYSERDA offers two different loan options. They have a smart energy loan and an on-bill recovery loan. They're both essentially the same. It's just that the on-bill recovery loan is paid on your utility bill over time. So you can also finance through specific heat pump manufacturers like Synchrony or Enerbank. And then you can also go the traditional route and secure a loan through your local bank if the interest rate is more competitive than in other places. And then we want to talk about NYSERDA's Empower program, which applies to any household with an income below 80% of the state median income. So through Empower, you can receive a no-cost home energy assessment to identify where energy and thus money might be wasted. And then any improvements that you need to increase energy efficiency are identified during this assessment and then can be installed by contractors participating in the Empower program, such as Jess that we have on today. So there are different discounts available for these projects based on your income level and household size. I would also note that NYSERDA is resetting kind of their look back clock. So originally you would have to wait 3 years after applying through Empower in order to apply again. But anyone who has been through the program within the last 3 years will now be eligible to reapply again without having to wait. So if this is your first time, then you don't have to worry about that. But if you're looking to apply again through Empower, you can do that. So there are also some other clean energy opportunities that we would like to point out. There are different federal rebates and tax credits available for electrical upgrades, which would be really helpful if you're installing these technologies and you really need to update your wiring because maybe they can't necessarily handle a different electrical load. So there are different, these are different, there's different rebates for different income brackets, and then also the tax credit for both electrical wiring and the panel or the breaker box. And then as much as we would love public transport to be robust enough to support everyone traveling wherever they need to, the reality is most of us need personal vehicles. So if you're considering purchasing a new or used electric vehicle, there are federal tax credits available to reimburse you those costs as well. And these have certain criteria to qualify, such as your income and the price of the vehicle, previous owners, but this is also something that is available. And lastly, we would like to mention that we are working to develop a community solar project in the Southern Tier. So community solar is a really interesting way to get people on board who cannot traditionally have like solar panels on their roof. So if you're a renter, if you own your home but you just don't have like a roof that can support solar panels, or they wouldn't be facing the right way, you got too many trees. If you can't put solar on your own roof, a community solar project is a solar array in a different area that is connected to you can pull energy from and be billed for through NYSEG. So that would be you're using it as clean energy, but you don't have to have it directly on your property. So that's great for people with barriers to installing for traditional solar, such as your location if you're renting, or your income if you can't afford to put solar panels on your home. So that's also a really exciting prospect that we hope to get started up very soon. And just a little more on that, the way our community solar project would work is that you would receive 20% annual savings on your NYSEG bill. And in order to get that, you would be supporting the solar developer through paying your NYSEG bill. And in return, that would be the 20% annual discount would come on your bill. So signing up for community solar is non-binding. It would just put you in the queue for people once the project is up and running to then sign up to be part of the community solar array. And we'll drop the link in the chat to sign up, and you can also read our FAQ page, but that is all I have for now.
Alrighty. Any questions?
In case you're waiting to think up questions, maybe we can ask Jess to talk a little bit about the Insulation Man.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jess, and as they told you, I'm here from the Insulation Man. We focus on home performance and energy efficiency through insulation and air sealing, as well as coordinating with the heat pump contractors on the NYSERDA program customers. We handle both residential for new and existing construction. We also do commercial properties, and we are partnered up with a couple of different organizations to offer other rebates through NYSEG that are not mentioned here in the webinar. So if you don't qualify for the programs, we can still get you some kind of financial relief from that. And it can all start with a home energy audit to see exactly where the house needs to be improved to get you heat pump ready.
Thanks, Jess. And yeah, if you decide that you want to have an assessment for energy efficiency or for heat pumps or for both, the first step is to go to our website at nynest.org and sign up there. You can always call us as well. The phone number is listed on the site. Did want to mention a couple of relatively new rebates that we did not have a slide for. The rebates are for stoves and dryers. First of all, there's an $840 federal rebate for low-income customers. There may be a smaller rebate for middle income. We're going to need to check into that. And then for insulation, there's a $1,600 rebate for low income. And again, we're going to need to check in for middle income. So if you sign up with us, we then send along your information to the contractor or contractors that make sense in terms of the technologies that you've chosen and where your house is located. And then they will call you up and they will ask you some questions. You'll have a conversation and set up a time if it makes sense for them to come out and take a look at your home, either to see about an actual energy audit to see how leaky or tight your home is, and see if heat pumps are right for you, and if so, what sort of design, and they'll come back after that with a quote. So all of that I just described is free until, of course, if you decide you want to go ahead, you'd sign a contract. The installers are also fully versed in all of the federal and state programs. Any questions at this point? So I guess a couple other things that I'll mention. The installers that work with us all have been chosen because they have all of the proper certifications and trainings, and all of them have many years of experience. The Insulation Man is now actually a woman-owned business, but it started as an Insulation Man back in the late 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a lot of accumulated knowledge there over the years. And for our heat pump contractors, all of them are top flight rated by their respective manufacturers. So a lot of our installers, for example, use Mitsubishi equipment for air source heat pumps, and those are all diamond dealers. And what that means is that they have installed a certain number of units, and they've received training and are basically at the top of their game as far as the manufacturer is concerned. In addition, they have the authorization to be able to do work that qualifies for federal and state and utility incentives. All right, one more call to see if we have questions. Then I'll ask if anyone from the team or Jess has anything they want to add before we finish up.
Yeah, I actually will add on to, so with the Inflation Reduction Act funding, this funding can all be braided with the NYSERDA programs. NYSERDA is actually heading up the distribution of the funding for the Inflation Reduction Act monies in the state of New York. So for anybody that is program qualified, the application for the NYSERDA programs is also the application that will tie you to Inflation Reduction Act. So we can put together more of a comprehensive project to get the house energy efficient and farther off of fossil fuels.
Great. Thanks for that, Jess. Any other comments before we finish up? All right. Well, I want to thank the team and Jess for a great presentation. And I want to thank Rose for joining us tonight. And I hope you all have a pleasant rest of your evening and a great holiday weekend.
Thank you. Have a great day.